It's 6:30 in the morning. A quiet alarm buzzes on a phone resting beside the bed. A hand reaches out, silences it, and stays there for a moment, staring at the ceiling. Outside the window, the city is just starting to wake up. Cars pass, someone walks a dog, somewhere a coffee machine hums. You get up, step into the kitchen, pour coffee into a mug that's been used every morning for years. On the counter, there's a stack of envelopes, rent, utilities, a credit card statement. Nothing unusual, just the quiet paperwork of adult life. You've been working for a long time now. Maybe 10 years. Maybe 15. Maybe longer. And if you pause for a moment, really pause, you might feel a strange question forming in the background of your mind. How can someone work this much, for this long, and still feel financially stuck? Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people quietly notice, but rarely say out loud. Hard work does not automatically create wealth. You can wake up early, stay late, do everything you were told was responsible, and still end up 30 years later wondering where all the money went. And the reason has almost nothing to do with laziness. In fact, the people trapped in this cycle are usually the most responsible ones. Let me show you what's really happening. Imagine a treadmill in the middle of a room. A person steps onto it. They begin jogging slowly. On the screen in front of them, the number rises: income, salary, promotion. At first, the pace feels manageable. The first job arrives. The first paycheck feels exciting. Bills are simple. Life feels like it's beginning. But then something subtle happens. As the treadmill speeds up, the room around the runner quietly starts changing. A slightly nicer apartment appears in the corner. A car payment enters the room. Subscriptions start stacking on a small table. Furniture gets upgraded. Nothing dramatic, just small improvements. But the treadmill keeps moving. And over time, the runner realizes something strange. Despite running faster than ever, they're not actually going anywhere. This is one of the quietest traps in personal finance. Not overspending. Not financial irresponsibility. Just a system where life gradually expands to match income. Behavioral economists call this hedonic adaptation. But the idea is simple. Humans quickly adjust to improvements in lifestyle. What felt like luxury last year becomes normal this year and necessary next year. Think about your first real paycheck. You probably remember the feeling. It felt like freedom. Maybe you celebrated. Maybe you bought something you'd been wanting for years. And for a moment, that purchase felt significant. But a few months later, it became part of everyday life. The new phone became just a phone. The nicer apartment became just home. The upgraded lifestyle quietly became the baseline. And without realizing it, the financial target moved. Not because you're irresponsible. Because your brain is wired that way. Now picture something else. Two coworkers leave the same office building at 6 p.m. They earn nearly the same salary. They ride the same elevator down, walk past the same security desk, step outside into the same evening air. But what happens next slowly changes the trajectory of their lives. The first coworker walks toward the parking lot. Their car payment quietly withdraws money from their bank account every month. The second coworker walks toward a slightly older car, no payment. Inside the first coworker's apartment, streaming services automatically renew. New gadgets appear over time. Nothing extreme, just normal upgrades. Inside the second coworker's apartment, things change more slowly. Both people work hard. Both people are responsible. But one invisible difference begins to compound over time. The first coworker's income flows outward. The second coworker's income occasionally stays behind. And when money stays behind long enough, it begins to grow. This is where another psychological bias enters the story. Present bias. Humans naturally prioritize comfort today over stability decades from now. Not because we're foolish. Because the present feels real and the future feels abstract. Imagine two envelopes sitting on a kitchen table. One envelope says, "Enjoy today." The other says, "Security in 20 years." Most of us instinctively reach for the first one. Not consciously, not recklessly. Just naturally. The problem is that financial life is quietly governed by long timelines. And small differences, almost invisible in the moment, start to stretch across decades. Let's slow down and look at something most people never visualize. Imagine a glass jar sitting on a desk. Every month, someone drops a small amount of money into that jar. Nothing dramatic, just a small habit repeated consistently. Now imagine another jar sitting beside it, completely empty. For the first few years, the difference between those jars looks insignificant, barely noticeable. But time is a strange force in finance, because after 10 years, the jars no longer look the same. After 20 years, the gap becomes obvious. And after 30 years, the difference can feel shocking. This isn't magic. It's the quiet power of compounding. But here's the deeper truth. Compounding doesn't just apply to investments. It applies to behaviors. Small habits repeated over decades create massive outcomes, which means the real question isn't how hard someone works. It's how their financial system behaves while they're working. Now let's look at a moment many people experience around their 30s. Picture someone sitting at a dining table late at night. The room is quiet, a laptop glows softly. On the screen, a banking app shows a list of transactions. Groceries, rent, utilities, insurance, subscriptions, car payment. The person scrolls slowly. Nothing on the list looks irresponsible. No wild spending. No obvious mistakes. Just the quiet machinery of adult life. And yet the balance isn't growing. If this moment feels familiar, you're not alone. Because modern life is built around frictionless spending. Money leaves your account automatically. Subscriptions renew silently. Payments divide themselves into manageable monthly pieces. Everything feels affordable. But the system is designed to feel that way. Monthly payments hide the true cost of things. A $900 phone becomes just $37 per month. A car becomes only $420 per month. Streaming becomes just $12. Each decision seems small, but together they form a network of financial gravity pulling money outward. There's another force quietly shaping these decisions. Social comparison. Picture someone scrolling through social media during a lunch break. Vacation photos, new apartments, engagement rings, promotions. Everyone else appears to be moving forward. And without realizing it, the brain begins adjusting expectations. What once felt like success begins to feel average. What once felt comfortable begins to feel behind. This is one of the least discussed pressures in financial life. Status anxiety. Not the desire to show off. Just the quiet feeling of wanting to keep up with the world around you. So lifestyles expand. Apartments upgrade. Vacations get slightly bigger. And again, nothing looks irresponsible. But the treadmill speeds up. Now imagine something different. The same morning alarm rings. The same coffee pours into the same mug. The same stack of envelopes sits on the counter. But one small detail has changed. Instead of money leaving first, a small portion quietly stays. Before rent, before spending, before lifestyle decisions expand, a small percentage moves somewhere else. Into investments, into savings, into a future version of life. At first, nothing looks different. The apartment is still modest, the routine is still ordinary. But beneath the surface, the system has changed. Money isn't just flowing outward anymore. Part of it is working quietly in the background. Think of it like planting a tree. At the beginning, the seed looks unimpressive. You water it, weeks pass, barely anything happens. Months pass, the growth still looks slow. But beneath the soil, something important is forming. Roots. And once those roots spread, growth accelerates. Financial life works the same way. The early years often feel invisible. But systems built early create momentum later. Now here's the turning point many people eventually discover. Wealth isn't built through heroic financial decisions. It's built through calm systems, through habits that quietly repeat while life moves forward. Imagine two timelines. In the first timeline, every financial decision is reactive. A raise arrives, lifestyle expands. Stress appears, spending increases. The system constantly adjusts to emotions. In the second timeline, the system runs quietly in the background. Money flows into investments automatically. Spending happens within what remains. The difference between these timelines isn't discipline. It's structure. One life is managed decision by decision. The other is guided by a framework that removes many decisions entirely. This is where financial calm begins. Not with extreme frugality, not with hustle culture, just with intentional design. Picture someone sitting at the same dining table again. The laptop is open, the same banking app appears. But this time, something looks different. There's a quiet column labeled investments, slowly growing over time. Nothing explosive, just steady progress. And with that progress comes something unexpected. A feeling of space. Because when money begins working quietly in the background, the future stops feeling so fragile. You still wake up in the morning. You still go to work. Life still has ordinary stresses. But the treadmill no longer feels endless. Because now something else is happening behind the scenes. Time is helping you, instead of working against you. And maybe the most important realization is this. The goal isn't to avoid every financial mistake. Perfection isn't required. Life will always include unexpected costs, imperfect choices, moments of indulgence. Progress doesn't come from eliminating those things. It comes from building a system strong enough to survive them. Because over 30 years, consistency matters far more than precision. Small habits repeated calmly will almost always outperform dramatic bursts of discipline. So if you ever find yourself staring at your bank account late at night, wondering where the years went, pause for a moment, take a breath, and remember something important. The difference between working for 30 years and ending up broke or ending up financially stable rarely comes down to intelligence or effort. It usually comes down to systems. Quiet systems that direct money before life has a chance to spend it. Because when those systems exist, time becomes an ally. And when time becomes an ally, even ordinary financial decisions can slowly build extraordinary stability. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. And sometimes that steady progress is exactly what freedom looks like.